Welcome to Chefs in the City. I'm Ann Fisher with my co-hosts Rich Terapak and Steve Stover. Hey guys.
Hey, Ann.
Columbus Dispatch food writer Bob Vitale this summer tapped you too for advice on a story about the best high-end hamburgers in Columbus, meaning expensive hamburgers. You talked to them about that, and Bob, thanks for the shout out in your article. Now we're talking about the best hamburger in town, period.
In my opinion, yeah.
And our guest is Graydon Webb. He's founder of Ritzy's, originally opened in 1981 as GD Ritzy's. The throwback diner concept was reborn in 2018 at its sole location now on North High Street in Beachwald. I remember Steve Stover was very excited when this happened. I mean, he's like,
giddy
in
2018.
2018.
He was giddy in 2018, and for good reason. So, Graydon Webb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ann.
It's great to have you.
Looking forward to it.
You got your start in hamburgers the old-fashioned way, at the grill, at the original Wendy's in downtown Columbus.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
Small chain, first of all.
At the time.
Yeah. Second part of it was my dad didn't think he needed a college education, but we had been Kentucky Fried franchisees. So Colonel Sanders had shown up to our little drive-in that we had in Portsmouth back in 1958.
Wow.
And I was serving root beer from our Stewart's root beer stand.
Oh, wow.
And the idea to get into the chicken
Underage.
business. Yeah, underage. That's right. That doesn't work in the family. Yeah.
Particularly in Portsmouth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And the bottom line was, that's how I kind of grew getting the food business, because I had to do that to be able to go home at night. My parents wouldn't pay me for anything for like lunch money. It was 35 cents an hour, as I remember. But the point is that I was around fresh food. And that was one of the things that the Colonel always praised, was how people would be able to build it. And that led to an introduction when I came to Columbus.
Wait, you met the Colonel?
The Colonel actually came out to help open stores back then.
Wow.
Yeah, he and his son, nephew, would go out and do actual openings. But it's one of those kind of things that, the legacy of it's gone on, because at the time it was a guy in a white suit with a black string tie. And at that, I'm going to say in 1958 or so, there was a television advertisement about Morton's family meals, which were kind of like frozen dinners.
Yeah.
And the guy had a string tie.
Many of them.
He had a string tie on. And I thought for sure that this was Colonel Morton. Well, it wasn't. I offended him from the very beginning. So I learned to respect him from Corbin,
your
Kentucky.
family knew Dave Thomas, too.
Yes, yep. And that came through the KFC contacts.
Oh, that's right. He started with KFC too, right? Yeah. Okay.
He came to Columbus because from Fort Wayne, because the operations here had just fallen flat on their face. They had dining rooms that nobody was waiting on them and all that stuff. And he's the one that actually said, well, let's set this up so we can take things home. And Dave came up with the idea for the bucket. That was another part of it, too, was, you could get a lot of chicken cooked in there. And plus, it was also something they took the signs and made a big round bucket out of it so people would identify with it. But anyhow, to lead to the point of Dave and I, was a place to go work in this creamy, little kind of a square hamburger place that he had down on Broad Street. And believe it or not, I enjoyed it. Some of the guys from our fraternity house said, where'd you go for, dinner? And I said, oh, we went down to this place my dad was involved a little bit or something. I'm not sure. Went down. And they said, yeah, it's pretty good. Well, about a week or two later, went back to the house, and I said, where's Jim? And this guy said, oh, they went down to your dad's place. Well, it's not my dad's place. It's a friend of my dad, but I'll take any kind of notion I can. So that was part of the popularity. So when I got out of school, I wasn't going to move back to Portsmouth and cook chicken for the rest of my life. Nothing, I wouldn't admire that. But the point was, when you cook chicken all the time, cats follow you home at night. so you got to remember that. It's even worse than in Arthur Treacher's where I worked. Yeah. So that's my introduction to the food business, to put it that way. So, and then the idea to do Wendy's, was Dave's concept to do everything fresh. We pattied meat in the back of the stores. And so when I opened up Ritzy's, I wanted to make sure that we did everything we could, the best that we could. And my grandmother down in New Boston used to make ice cream. Well, my grandfather did the churning of it, but in his union shirt and all that kind of stuff. Wow. But we made fresh ice cream. And I always liked that. So I took her components, which is milk, cream, egg, and sugar, and made our ice cream. One of the things I say is I go to a Kroger store and pick up like 20 half pints of, cream.
Heavy cream, yeah.
And after I did it about 6 times, the cashier looked at me like, is this guy on drugs? What's he doing with this stuff? So. And some of the series at the time we had a bull mastiff dog, pretty big. and was saying leftovers, we'd give it to him. Well, if he didn't like it, I wasn't going to turn that into the table. He became one of our expenditures.
Well, we were taste testers,
That's
too.
right, you were.
Peanut
That's
Butter
right.
Cup and Oreo were among our favorites and still are.
Yeah. Easy to do, and that's one of the things we did.
Well, that was always something that was a little bit different about Wendy's was their
Frosty.
Frosties.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so there's always that connection of ice cream
Yep.
and burgers.
I've always wondered whether Wendy stole that from White Castle, because White Castle had Frosties for
Oh, I didn't know that.
decades
I've
beforehand.
Been to White.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can
There
see.
was a Kewpies,
Oh.
and they had a thing that they called their frosted malt.
Yeah.
And it was basically a half gallon of vanilla mix and a half gallon of chocolate, Borden's or whatever it is, dump it into the ice cream machine and do a direct draw shake that you ate with a spoon. And that was part of the original story around the Wendy's hamburgers, as then the fact that we had these, side desserts that were easy to do.
Yep.
So, and one more
Great
thing
for the
about
kids.
Wendy's.
Yeah.
I know I've heard the story before, but I don't understand. I can't remember it. Why square hamburgers?
Dave said to make it fit more on the grill. And the other side
Just
of
like
it-
White Castles.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the edges of each one of those burgers would actually hang over the side, so people would taste the meat first. They'd bite it off or
Yeah.
prepare it off. And that was part of it, because we pattied the meat in the store back then.
Wow.
You'd get to the store like 7:30 in the morning and do 20 pans of meat, which were 48 patties per pan and that kind of stuff. You had to keep it refrigerated on the front line. But we cooked to order. And the idea was, look out, if you got 4 or 5 people coming in the door, you better put 6 or 8 patties on. And then you needed a place to recover those patties, so it became the chili. So that was part of the mathematics as well as the management side of what developed to be the next
Interesting.
and third.
Yeah.
And then you stayed with Wendy's and
I did.
rose to the franchising department.
Did that, talked to people all over the country and in Japan. I went to Japan one time with Bob Barney, who was president at the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we did, we were just doing it a little different than anybody else. The burger chefs, the McDonald's, Burger King, all that kind of stuff were out there. But was there room for us? And yes, it proved that people did appreciate. Of course, we were getting 55 cents for a hamburger when everybody else was getting a quarter. So that was that difference.
Huh.
The
But
quarter
it was
pounder.
a quarter of a pound. Yeah.
Yeah, ours was. And McDonald's didn't have a quarter pounder till actually when we did the state fair here in 1972 and introduced a lot of people. And McDonald's was wanting to come to the state fair and set up. And they had these guys coming in with their hats on and stuff. So they're kind of grinning at us because we were idiots. We could make sandwiches to order too. So you put mustard on the meat if you wanted to make
Special
sure,
orders.
not on the bun. And those kind of things came out. And so we became a competitor to McDonald's. So they added the quarter pounder to see if they could drive us out of business.
Ah.
It didn't work because they were used to, heat lamps and wrapping them up and let them lay there until the slot was empty.
I still remember. This is such a weird memory that I would remember, but I still remember the first time I ever went to a Wendy's because I really didn't grow up going to fast food because we had a big family and my parents, they couldn't, it was too much. We got to do it for you. We got to do it for everybody, It's like, but so I was living in Arizona, going to Arizona State, and my boyfriend said, "Let's go to this Wendy's place," and I'm like, "Really?"
You still like In-N-Out burgers.
I don't even know what I mean, I just didn't do it very much. But then I still remember going, wow, this is good.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Fresh meat, it's
Yeah.
kind of a loose patty. And that's the best part of it. Is freshness is still important. And just any restaurant, you try and thinking about saying, well, this is frozen 6 weeks ago and we'll thaw it for you. I don't care if it's, filet mignon. It's going to have a little difference.
But so now it's 2025 and Wendy's is
Having some issues, yeah.
global. I mean, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Everybody is. aren't they?
Everyone's.
Yeah,
Food costs.
Well, it's getting expensive to eat fast food.
it is. And people, I'm talking about the workworce
Yeah,
too, is something that's very
Staffing.
tough to get.
Yes.
And the facility. The folks saying, we got to build a new one. You got to redecorate. You got to,
That's one of the big problems with the franchisees. You had to have to put $1.5 million into something to remodel. And the dining room part of it is now maybe 20%. When it used to be the other way around, 60 to 80%
Really?
inside. And drive-through, of course, people didn't know what the drive-through was. The first one we had was on Henderson Road. And people would kind of like pull up to this thing and they'd scream at us. What am I supposed to do? And then you get the lady that's got 4 kids there, couldn't make up their mind, and you got people backing around the building. There were those issues we had to deal with.
Oh yeah. But
So you're
remember
a pioneer, man.
I'm not sure. It evolves so there's everybody a pioneer every day.
When you were first flipping burgers, was that the old Glen Epke on Broad
Yeah.
Street?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the nice thing was that there would be busloads of kids going to COSI.
Mm-hmm.
And that created
Yes.
That was lunch.
COSI shouldn't have moved.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, that was the thing it gave us, it was rushes. And of course, we had a lot of things that, basically from about 11:15 until about 1, that's when we did our business. After that, it was pretty quiet on Broad Street.
Yeah.
But we learned how to be able to push volume through in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And you had to be able to have people come and say, let's see, I want ketchup, pickle, mustard, and onions on my hamburger, or tomato and lettuce.
I always say no cheese, and it really throws them off.
Don't you do that? Well, we were charging for cheese like an extra dime or something, so. But that's the kind of learning curve that we had to do to make sure it was customer-oriented decisions, not us thinking that we're king of the world.
So GD Ritzy's, let's talk about that.
All right.
And,
How did you
what
get
is-
from there to there?
Yeah.
Well, part of it had to do with my dad, who grew up in Soudaville, which is a little suburb of Portsmouth, and he worked at Reese's, which was a hamburger place, which was during or pre-World War II. They just put balls of meat on the grill and smashed them down. And I remember I was a little kid. Dad wasn't still working there anymore. But the point is, that's the idea of taking fresh meat. And when you spread it on a smash burger kind of a thing, it loosens the patty up. So now it shows some filling and going around the side of the bun, but it also cooks differently. You've got still the ability to do a light pink or say a hazy pink kind of center that makes it cooked, but then you got the crispy edges.
Yeah.
And so that was the difference of the hamburger. And same thing with the buns. We baked our own buns back then, and we still do. And then making things to order because everybody, let's say, that went to McDonald's back then, it was, you want a McDonald's hamburger, that's what you got. Ketchup and mustard, pickle, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, whatever you said. And they didn't have it, So we did it, we built it. And that's the other thing is the 256 story, too, is that one of the days I said, we can do hamburgers 256 ways. And Dave looked at me like, well, prove it. And I went, oh, crap.
I hate to be called on this.
Oh, yeah.
So I sat down there with a pencil and a piece of paper going, pickle, mustard, ketchup. And I was stuck. I was going to about 38 or 40 or something out of the 265. That's at 3. And I said, how do you do this one? So I went up to Ron Music, who was our accountant. And Ron said, well, just match a number up to each one of the condiments and do the series of the numbers. And I went, duh. It wasn't calculus, but it worked. So we put that together and assigned a number. Ketchup was 1, onion was 2, 3, and got the series of things going. And that's how we decided we could actually communicate to people that there's 256 different ways you can make a Wendy's hamburger, which is part of the invitement to have them come in and say, I want it made this way, which they couldn't get at, Burger
Anywhere
King and
else.
some of the chains.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Ritzy's has a much more diverse menu than any other fast food company I know because you have chili, you have hot dogs, you have the very famous peanut butter sandwich with fresh strawberries and ice cream and other things. Why?
Because of a balance for kids. One of the things to go back to, I was growing up, my grandmother on the other side, my grandmother Duvendek, made peanut butter jelly sandwiches with crushed peanuts and sliced strawberries.
Wow.
And so let's do that. So we put it on Texas toast, and it was one of those things in the
Wait,
early days.
crushed peanuts. What do you mean? Like
Like
processed? Like
chunky peanut
you-
Ground
you-
up?
just-
Like chunky?
chunk-
Okay.
Yeah, just pound them up so you get and sprinkle that on top of the peanut butter.
Okay, gotcha.
So you got some
okay,
crunch
okay.
when you
Yes.
get into it.
My
And same
God.
thing with we had strawberry preserves, but we had strawberries inside, so that was the next part of it. And it was just a
I
different
want to make
sandwich.
one
Yeah.
of those. That sounds
Well,
great.
the thing they did when we got to different towns and opened up and had some of the press people come out to do things about it opening, the thing they came back with, and now there's a new restaurant player in our town, and they're going to serve peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Well, it created enough curiosity for people coming to probably buy hamburgers anyhow, but they liked the idea of having something that was identified with something the kids could eat before a hamburger or before a hot dog. So that was one of the leader things that gave us a lot of attention.
And hot dogs with natural casing that you insisted upon so they crackle.
And you still
Do. Yeah. And the key thing there was going to New York. I never understood why it was a little harder to bite into, but the New York hamburger or hot dogs were really good. And I found out that you had to get natural casing. Well, what's that? So when they told me what it was, I said, let's try that. So that's what we did, was something that's all beef, and it was a just different eating experience. And we still sell the same hot
And
dog
hot dogs
today.
are really big right now.
They are coming back right.
And you can
Coney
get those made
dogs.
to order too.
You know,
What happened to GD Ritzy's? What?
Growth.
Okay.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to get a lot of financing quickly. And then I got to say, the aftermarket of the people that had wanted to be in Wendy's that couldn't buy in the market they wanted to be came in and said, well, that Ritzy's thing I like, can we join and be a franchisee there? So we just grew too fast. And we went from, in fact, the second year, we went from like our 2 stores to like 9. The third year, I think 40. And then we got to over 100 stores in
Whoa.
the 4th year.
wow.
And that was it. Of course, I was 32 at the time, and I thought, there's no way that we can screw this up.
Famous
So,
last
yeah,
words.
Yeah. So what we did, we just grew too fast in towns, and this was also a time too where there was some downturn in some of the economics that was
Economic
going on.
downturn.
Yeah.
That was in the
Okay,
late
that's
90s.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So that
Have a
was
lot of effect on the whole.
Yeah, it
food
wasn't just
industry.
us. I mean, that's when you think like, remember BBF, Burger Board?
Oh, yeah.
Borden's and Bond.
Foodorama.
They all went away about that time. So,
It's too bad it was a great drive-in.
yeah. So
Dog and Suds.
well, that's right.
You
Yeah.
never see Dog and Suds anymore. They
Yeah.
went around. They went away in the 80s.
Yeah, there was one up in Cleveland Avenue for years, almost to Linworth, but I don't know, or Linden, not Linworth, Linden.
And you do floats too.
Yep. And the ice cream,
I haven't had a float in a long
That just made me
time.
think of a rope your float.
Yeah.
that's
Brown cows. They were.
Yeah,
there
Verner's
you go.
boats
Yeah,
were good
yeah,
too.
yeah. And we try to feature unique flavors too. We do all the flavoring. In fact, we still make ice cream in the store. And the best thing that we can do is make sure that what we've done is adding the right amount of cookies and creams and atoms and that kind of stuff that we want to go make it even better. And it's also a product that is not full of stabilizers. If
Right.
you look at the ice cream label, it's like it's a science class, So, but milk, creams, egg, and sugar is really what we're based on. And it's a cleaner melt, also denser.
It is.
Grandpa's, thing that he was stirring around wasn't whipping it. He was just kind of moving it around to keep it from
Was it a
freezing.
custard? Does it
was
start as a
custard.
custard
Yeah.
then? I think that makes, yeah.
Because of the egg content.
Yeah.
It has to be up to about 4% or more to be able to call it custard. So that's what we did. And then, like I said, it's very dense at the same time. So you get a different eating experience. It's very cold when you bite into it. And it's not good on plastic spoons. They do break quite a bit. So you need to get your own metal spoon.
Well, we eat out of
Bring
the
a spoon
carton.
and come.
Yeah. And the thing we're proud of, too, is you take a pint of our ice cream, put it on a scale, and a pint of some of the other ice creams, that will be 4 or 5 ounces heavier in the same
Yeah. Wow.
space.
Yeah.
Because all the air.
Yeah.
Less air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so then you rebooted Ritzy's in 2018, much to Steve Stover's
Delight.
ecstatic delight.
I was there for the opening of the original GB Ritzy's. I was there for the opening of the new Ritzy's. So.
Well, the thing, we were actually gotten pretty well known at the time, and a fellow from Dallas, Texas, whose family was one of the bottlers of Coca-Cola, was interested in Ritzy's. And he came in and met, as we were a public company at the time too, we'd raised some public capital, and he came in and wanted to buy the brand. And he did, because he had a checkbook that also the fact that his family lived in Monroe, Louisiana, which Delta Airlines is from Monroe, so they were also big holders of Delta Airlines stock. So between that and his bottling stock, he had plenty of money, so he could write a cash, so he bought the company. And then we started seeing the atrophy of some of the existing stores. From the 100 went down to 80. And he decided he had to do some things with it in Dallas. And it got very creative, but it's also one of the things, he's not a food guy. And he overbuilt the stores. I forget, we were back then spending $2.5 million when you could do a comparable development for $750 or something like that. So the economics got out of change, and then it kind of just atrophied. And he called me one time and said, "Are you interested in Ritzy's again?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, go do something." So, well, what's that mean? But we found a piece of property that a friend of mine said, take a look at it. And we had been in Clintonville, anyhow, at the corner of Cook and High, anyhow, where Kemba is now.
Okay.
And it was one of our more successful stores. So that led to the rebirth, and having 2 kids that were in their late teens, early 20s. And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to do it again." So we opened up in Clintonville, and then about 8 months after we opened, COVID kicks in.
Oh,
Yay.
So made it a little bit of a struggle for a couple years. But
How did you make it through?
Just by doing what we did best, which is make sure that the customers that came in
Carry
had
out.
their masks on.
Carry out,
and,
yeah.
and off-premise became a big part of it because the delivery systems were beginning to grow, which was one of the things when we didn't have a lot of room on this parking lot. We didn't put a drive-through in, and I was, my vision was, there's going to be these delivery things that are going to take all the traffic away. No, we still need a drive-through, but it's too small a piece of property.
Yeah.
So, and we continually looking for second and third locations, but it's got to be an economic situation. It's very expensive to decide you want to build it the way you want on a piece of property that's big enough. Just write a lot of checks.
Yeah.
So
It's an interesting location right there at this traffic light too.
Mm-hmm.
It's people are stopped and they see it.
Yeah.
They're not driving by it in the same way that
Yeah.
they are up on North High there.
That's right.
And I think the
I know
traffic,
about that, yeah.
the traffic count, I think, is 35,000 cars a day,
Yeah.
which makes it it's almost interstate kind of numbers.
But when I was there, it felt like there was a lot of walk-in.
Okay.
Like just walking up. They weren't not people in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and then it's the good density in the
Yeah.
neighborhood is what amounts to. You just look up the street and they're not acre properties. There's a bunch, 4 houses on an acre. And it's generally people that have done reasonably well, middle income to upper middle. So we identify pretty well with a place for them to gather. We even put a set of bleachers out front, which I thought for the little league teams and that kind of stuff.
That's a
Down
great
at the Park
idea.
of Roses, you could go up as a team and sit there, and the kids could have ice cream. So those are a couple of things that we did that I think gives us an advantage. And right now, as far as it goes, we have had a phenomenal last couple of years.
Terrific.
And of course, I think
Yeah.
give credit to my son Corey, who's there 80 hours a week, who made me a grandfather, by the way. So I'm happy about that too.
Congratulations.
But that's the thing: is operations is the biggest thing we have to do is make sure to cook a fresh hamburger. It takes time. It's not just something you throw into some kind of a cooking system and spit it out there and hope that it doesn't dry out too much. And we bake our own buns every
Yeah.
morning, and that to me is an important
Nobody
thing.
else.
That's
That's
it.
so good.
And it's so good.
What time does one have to get up to bake this?
When does one begin this?
Well, fortunate enough, somebody like Subway has figured it out. The oven is also the proof box.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can punch the button and put all the stuff in and let it sit there proof for 3 hours or so. Then it'll kick it in the baking cycle. So by 10 o'clock or so, we've got fresh buns that we booked in the morning that otherwise somebody come in at 5 o'clock and have to load it.
Right, that's what I was looking at.
And I've always said, too, that from a hamburger standpoint or any actually sandwich, what's the first thing you see, touch, and taste is the bun. So that's an important part of our future is making sure we bake fresh bread every day and complements what we've got, with the meat the way we
Fresh
cook
meat.
it.
Yeah.
And so since I was eating there yesterday in preparation
All right.
for today, I really
Research.
noticed the pickles.
Oh.
I'm a mustard ketchup pickle person because of different, like things I can't eat. But the pickles were so crunchy and
No,
big.
yeah.
I actually opened it up and looked at it.
Yeah.
I was like,
How
oh
big
my
are these
gosh.
pickles? Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that and take that and eat the pickle first.
Yeah.
Then they
I
pickle
got
the back.
extra pickles yesterday.
I'm going to
We
get
do
extra
that.
pickles from
Yeah.
now on. I didn't
Just ask for them. Yeah.
Now talk about the meat.
The meat itself is basically locally processed in Springfield, Ohio. Actually, whereas we used to in the Wendy's days we had the falters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got stories about that when we go down and actually to the floor of the kill operation and take some of the trainees through there, and they didn't quite understand when it's time for a cow to go. Don't leave that off there anymore.
Order up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were kind of like you kind of hear something go thump, and it wasn't the cow, it was them. They passed out. But anyhow, the idea of the freshness was an important part of what we did at Ritzy's, and want to continue. And anything that we do is a little bit different, a little different, fresher. And one of the things we have struggled with is it'd be a lot easier to have everything kind of hidden around the corner so you can't see what goes on your sandwich, which was, I'll compliment Wendy's. In the original days, we did that. You could kind of see there were the pickle and onions over there. It was going on, put a few more on. So I set it up so if we do kind of like Subway's been doing.
Yeah, Subway.
Yeah.
You can get the toppings instead.
they cover it up now in some Subways.
They have done that, I think, because of course, Subways are maybe being run by 1 or 2 people, and it's not a very high volume, but they've survived by baking a fresh bun.
Jersey Mike's does it. Same thing. They show you what they're putting on. And
Yeah.
You can tell them a little bit more, a little bit less. What do you make? All right. So I opened up the segment with reference to Bob Vitale's article in the Dispatch about these high-end burgers. And burgers are sort of making this, there's a bison burger, there's all the stuff. Is it just like a comeback? It can't last, and it'll cycle through again, or what do you think?
All I can say is that I've heard that kind of story before, where it's got to go away. You guys can't be eating hamburgers the rest of your life. That's been going on, and it's going to be a basic. I mean, until somebody's proven that beef is going to kill us, I don't know. This is
now it's all about protein.
Yeah,
so
that's right. That's right. We're back on that.
Yeah.
And so that I say yes. Hamburgers and being able to do more than just slap a couple of things on the top of or middle between two pieces of bun and say that's how it's going to survive. No, it's going to be good.
It's
It
incredible.
tastes good.
The price points that Bob was interested in
was
anything over $20. He wanted to talk about burgers that were over $20.
Well, and I was getting in a conversation with my spouse about that, and he's one of those people who's like, who's going to pay $20 for a burger? Blah blah. It's just a burger. I'm like, I don't know. I think if you get a burger, you get a Wagyu burger.
Or if you're in a steakhouse and it's the cheapest thing on the menu.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah, $27. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I ate there last night. I got the burger. Right?
Of course, the other thing too is if you've got a family of 4, that's not $20. That's 80.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it too. So I think that's one of the capitalization pieces for us is to be able to get a family in there and have 4 hamburgers for like $25. So that's what I think is our segment is be the best hamburger that fits into that category.
We just heard that White Castle's expanding to Texas for the first
saw
time,
that,
and it
yeah.
kind of cracks me up. I guess Dallas, and I'm wondering, what do you think? I mean, are the Longhorns ready for the steamed onion patties?
Probably. I mean, I have to give a credit to.
There must be a lot
family.
of Buckeyes down there, is
Yeah,
what I'm
sure,
figuring.
that's right,
They
yeah,
did their
yeah,
demographic
yeah,
research.
And Dallas is one of those towns too that has a lot of transients.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Columbus has become, where a lot of people are in and out for the reasons that businesses here. So I'd say they should, as long as they run them well, distance from home.
Yeah.
And if you remember the cult that you really had at White Castle, the gals with the crinoline caps or whatever they were and things like that, made sure that they talked to the people. Now, the drive-through is a different situation. I don't think they do a lot of inside. But the point is, do what they can to give a different kind of hamburger than anybody else's.
And none of those are franchised, right?
There should be all company, I
Yeah.
think.
All company.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Which
I think
means
it's
you can-
interesting when they do their Valentine's Day dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
White
I mean, they're
tablecloth
having
and-
fun with the whole idea of the burger, and likewise, this throwback, what am I trying to say? The atmosphere in there, the old hamburger joint kind of a place.
Yeah.
It matters still.
And if people get out of their cars and come
Yes.
in, that's an important part of it. But like I said, there's been the atrophy because of so many things out there from the outside environment that drive-throughs have become a significant part even of their business. Used to be, you go to White Castle at 3 a.m. and you were the entertainment. That's right. Yeah. You throw the beer can back in the car and go and antagonize these poor ladies who are working behind the counter too. They weren't very happy with
24
you.
hours,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
that's
24
right.
hours?
It was. Yeah.
So
Every
what
day
about
but Christmas.
what about these interlopers, these smash burger places
Yeah.
that are coming in? They're trying to take over.
It's out there. I mean, that's the thing is the technique
good.
is, it's not inventing things. It's like charbroiled steaks. Somebody had to be the first one
Yeah.
to throw them on. So, yeah. But I don't fight that at all because I think it is a good way to get at least a fresher kind of delivery as long as they do it the same way we do or with something that gives you not something that's been put in a pan.
A la
and taken
minute.
out-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the potential
done it.
breakdowns. So we use a hot grill, which is important. At Wendy's, we had a much colder grill, but we were slow cooking, and that would give us a chance to hold on the grill a little bit
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
So there's attributes that the smash burger, if you will, and the media that's gotten behind it, it gives you a chance to say, yeah, we were out there, not the first, but one of them to be able to make it a kind of a gospel part of what Wendy's had been, and we want to be in the same gospel of cooking our own hamburger technique that tastes different.
So any more Ritzy's on the horizon?
Looking is what it amounts to.
Okay.
There's actually right now three Ritzy's in Evansville, Indiana, and 2 in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is kind of So there's actually 6 of us out there still operating. And like I said, I don't want to go too crazy this time.
Yeah.
And like I said, plus the economics of extra stores is one of the things. $2.5 million to open the doors is a risk. So we want to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And
And City
anytime,
Barbecue's done a good job with that.
Oh, yeah.
It moves slowly.
Yeah.
It picked up the pace ever since they've got some
And it's
outside money. But
75 now,
yeah,
I think.
but that's
Okay.
over 20-some years.
Right, that's right. They did take their time with that.
1998. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And they've done a great job. I happen to live pretty close to where that is. That's a regular for us. We go in and
Yeah.
they've done a nice job. And they do some of those big weekends. I mean, they do some big numbers.
They
Do
had
a lot of catering.
They had some incredible number that Mr. Boudreaux shared was they have 3,000 weddings to cater.
Could be.
I mean, graduation parties, that guilty as charged. We did it for our son's high school graduation. So, Graydon Webb, thanks for bringing back Ritzy's.
All right. Thanks.
And thanks, you know,
Keep it up.
yes.
I'm getting
It is so good. It is so good.
Thank
and
you.
thanks for joining us today. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you. That's it for Chefs in the City this time. Thanks to Graydon Webb of Ritzy's and also Steve Stover and Rich Terapak, as always.
Our pleasure.
Until next time. And remember, a great meal is best shared. So share this with your friends and family, wherever you get your podcast. And take care.
Boxland Media. Think big.